Hi and welcome to GRVO TV, G's Reviews, Views and Opinions. I just want to do an introduction to my first FPV, first person view flying experiences. And you can see I've already got a video up with one of the first flights that I've done from this plane. And I just want to talk to you about how I've set up my system, because I was very confused about it. You had transmitters, receivers, 200 milliwatts, 50 milliwatts, 5.8 gigahertz, 1.2 gigahertz, all different, and acronyms like OSD, and all different types of cameras, Mobius cameras, GoPro cameras, TV board cameras. Then you've got goggles, you've got FPV goggles from Quantum, Sky something or other, Sky Zone, Fat Shark, and then you've got Immersion RC that makes products compatible with some things but not others. And it's just, the whole thing is like, oh my god, I need a simple system to get started. And I already had some things. For instance, I already had a Mobius camera, which is this little camera here. I already had planes because I fly model aircraft, so I wanted to make it as easy as possible and just get the ball rolling, if you like. So I waited for quite some time, did quite a lot of research, and then Hobby King came out with this cradle here, which is like an all-in-one unit that the Mobius sits in, and inside there's a little transmitter which sends the video from here to a receiver which you have inside your goggles. And I thought it was quite a neat little package. Probably not the lightest, probably not the best for functionality. You can't get on-screen display and things like that, but as a starting point I thought I'd go with that. Initially I just mounted the camera with a bit of Velcro on the nose of the plane, and that was quite good, but I wanted to see the nose in the actual video to give me sort of reference points, which is why I bought this little contraption here. And what this enables me to do is, it is actually a pan and tilt, but to have it panning, it would have been too high up and it was too unstable. But basically I've got it set up so that in flight I can tilt the camera up and down, so I can set the horizon where I want, or I can look down a bit and see more of the ground or more of the sky, whichever I need. So that works quite well. If I just pop the canopy off the plane. Now originally I was powering this unit and the camera from a separate battery, but that wasn't ideal because you've got to put the battery somewhere, it's extra weight, and this is a nice flyer but it didn't really want to take too much more weight, including, you know, all of this stuff as well. So what I then did was I bought just a little lead which plugs in the back of the whole system. It's just got what we call a JST lead. So that's all it is, a JST lead, and on there it has a balance connector. Now I use a 3-cell battery in this plane, which is one of these little 1300 milliamps. Flies for about 20 minutes easily, this plane on this battery. And I normally plug it in with this Dean's connector here that plugs into the speed controller and powers the whole plane. And basically this piggybacks by plugging in to the balance lead, that takes the pos and neg off there, and it also runs the camera, and that works really well. The camera doesn't take a lot of power, and the transmitter and that, so it's fine. With the weight on here and the battery right at the front, this balances out absolutely fine and flies absolutely fine, which is good. I use a Futaba 2.4 gigahertz transmitter to fly the plane with, and that I already had. So for bits for me to buy, the cradle, a couple of bits here, these antennas, the ones you get with them are rubbish. They're like the stick antennas that you get on your home Wi-Fi. They're no good for this. You need decent aerials. And the most expensive part of it was the goggles. So I got myself a pair of second-hand Fat Shark goggles. And there's all sorts of different ones you can buy, but I plumbed for the ones that have the built-in receiver. Now a lot of the newer ones have modules so you can put different kinds of receivers in. This is just a a built-in receiver, again a matching aerial to go with that, so that pops on there. So you shouldn't power these up with the aerials not in. Always have the aerials in, otherwise you can fry them. And this just runs off a little LiPo which sits on the side and plugs into there. Now I am having problems with the goggles, and that's with steaming up, and so far I've been told to cut these holes in the bottom, which I've done. That doesn't seem to have helped very much. I use anti-fog wipes, which has definitely helped, but it's not solved the problem entirely. And I noticed the new goggles that Fat Shark sell have actually got a fan built in to prevent the steaming up. So that's still a problem for me at the moment, but I'm trying different things and will persevere with that. So that's my basic setup. When if I just plug this in, so when I go flying, all I do is plug in, turn the transmitter on first. Let's just get that onto the right model. The model, by the way, this is a multiplex Easy Star Mark II, and this one's actually badged high-tech because it came with all high-tech servos and receiver in it, but I've swapped out the receiver, put a few Tarbor in, and it's called the Sky Scout, but essentially it's a multiplex Easy Star. So I've got the transmitter turned on there. Now I can now plug in the main battery, and that turns everything live, so the plane is live, all the controls work. The servos on this are a bit noisy, just try and quieten them down a bit. And then I plug in to the balance port, I plug in my camera, which goes in there, and just pop the lens cap off. Then I plug my battery into my Fat Shark goggles, like that, and then I can see myself, through the goggles. Now, the thing about using the Mobius camera, and I'll just show you the range of movement just for the camera. I've just got it on a slider, so I can just move that up and down in just little steps, and that works fine. I generally have it about there, so just slightly down, but then I can change the horizon, and that all works absolutely fine. So it's all powered up, that's ready to go, and I will see what the camera's seeing. If I want to record the flight, I just press the record button and that records it. So there's no separate cameras, there's nothing else. This is it, this is all I need, and I can go and do my FPV flight, and it's great. I'm just going to turn it off because it's noisy. Just turn that off, turn the goggles off, unplug the camera, and turn the transmitter off. There we go. So the downside with this type of camera, from what I've gathered, is it has something called latency, and all cameras have it and all systems have it, but it's how much can you sort of stomach. Now, it seems to me that the higher definition, this is a full 1080p camera, the higher the definition, the more latency there is, because if you buy these 600 TV line cameras, board cameras, the latency on them is a lot lower, but obviously the image quality isn't as good. So it's a trade-off. And all I would say is, if you're doing really sort of fast quad racing, or flying through trees or things like that with a quad, then you need better or lower latency. So then I think that's where you go for the board cam, and then if you want to video your flight, you'd have to have a separate camera on your model. But for the type of flying that I wanted to do, which is I want to feel like I'm in the plane, this camera's fine, and the amount of latency is less than, it's like milliseconds. It's not, you know, enough to worry about, and you don't notice it in the slightest when you're flying around, or I don't anyway. Coming into land, it all seems fine, and you flare at the right time. You know, there's no problems that I've encountered with the latency. Now, I'm a good pilot, but for me this was all new, so there's a couple of things that I've learned as I've gone along. And things like orientation is interesting, because you don't have the problem with orientation as the plane's coming towards you and things like that, because you're in it. So the actual flying of the model is much easier than flying a model third person view. So that's fine. But if you're in a place where there's not very many landmarks, it's very easy to get lost. So what you do need is a spotter. So every flight I've had a spotter with me telling me where the plane is and where the plane is in relation to me. You can get on-screen displays that show all this, but that's, you know, in more advanced setups, and that may be something that I look at in the future, but I'm not really looking to go long range. I'm staying within the range of what I've got here, which is, to be honest, I've had the plane pretty much out of sight for my spotter, and I've still had full control and a good video reception, no problems at all. So the range for me is line of sight really, and a little bit beyond that, as long as I know where I am in relation to where I'm standing, sort of thing. Now, just to quickly go over the actual flight experience. Now, I didn't think it would be as good as it is. Now, I've flown full size, I've flown paramotors, microlights, helicopter, and I've flown like a Cessna, but most of my flying was actually done in a flexi-wing microlight, which is very open at the front, with not a lot around you, and I liken the experience to that. Now people say, well, yeah, but you're not in it, so you don't get the motion. Well, in a way you do get motion, because when you're standing there with your goggles on and the plane's moving, your brain is actually tricked into thinking there's motion, and you do start to react to things that are happening. So you do move around. My knees have gone once, and I actually nearly sort of fell over. But so there is a feeling of motion, and because you've got the view that you would have if you were sitting in the plane, it is actually, in my opinion, quite realistic, and I'm really enjoying it. It adds another element to my flying. It's really good fun. And like the other day when I did it, you know, I'm normally standing in the field and you can see around, but to get up high and see above the trees and that, it's a really nice experience. So I'm actually loving it. The most expensive thing is the goggles. These are I think the Predator V2 Fat Sharks. Second hand, you're still looking at about £150. Prices vary depending on what you get. If you want to get the bang up to date ones, you're looking at probably near £300. But for me that wasn't too bad, and I've got the whole system now, and I can add to it. You know, if I want to put it in a different plane, I can take this off, put it in a different plane, or I can go from what I've learned in here, I can do a different setup and just sort of progress with it. So I'm not going to go into long range, that doesn't really interest me too much, and I'm fairly happy with this. I am going to get another plane, which is going to be the Multiplex Fun Cub, because it's a slow flying plane, it's a fun plane, and I think that will work well with this kind of setup, and the taking off and landings, touch and goes, I think will be great. This can take off the ground, it slides along and it does take off okay, but so far I haven't done a takeoff through FPV. I've always thrown it, flown, got to where I'm sort of comfortable, then put the goggles on. But I am going to start trying to actually take off from the ground and see how we go with that. So there you go. It hasn't cost me an awful lot of money. I've got a good system, a nice easy system. It works well for me, and I am going to progress with it, and I'm really enjoying it. But you know, I wasn't sure whether I would, so I didn't want to spend loads of money. If I needed to sell this up, the main investment, the goggles, I'd probably get my money back thereabouts. So it's not like I've spent a fortune on this, but it is an investment. And what I would suggest you do is perhaps if you can try it first. I mean, I've been flying this FPV, and somebody else has got some goggles, and they can just tune in to my channel and see what I'm seeing. Or if I want to let someone have the experience, I can fly the plane third person, they can put the goggles on and get that sort of immersive experience to see if they like it, and have a go for themselves. So the keys to it, I think, is to have a good platform, a plane that you know flies well and you're happy with, and that can take the extra weight of the equipment. As I say, I've pared it down now to the extra weight being just this bit here, which isn't so bad, and I've got it pretty near the centre of gravity as well, so it all works fine. So this plane is very efficient anyway, because technically it's a powered glider. so it runs really well on a very small, cheap LiPo, which is great. So there you go. If you haven't already seen it, have a look at my video entitled My First FPV Flight, and if you've got any questions or comments, or you want to subscribe to my channel, please do so. This has been GRVO TV, G's Reviews, Views and Opinions. I'll see you soon. Bye.